what I kind of want to do now is like maybe like you have a mini podcast of yourself. So because I know that you're passionate, like not passionate, but you mentioned to me that one time that you want to talk about like if you were gonna do a podcast, it would be about like talking about taboo stuff. So I guess first of all, why is that so important to you? Like, why do you think that's necessary? And also, we can do a mini session right now. Like, what kind of taboo stuff would you want to talk about? Or yeah,
Um, why is it important? Because people don't talk about it. Point blank period. That's why it's important. Because
cool.
why we don't talk about it? Do you know what I mean? Like so for example, the
Yeah,
biggest I'm sure that a lot of people think about is sex.
cool.
Like, right. Let's just genuinely right, because it really, you can tell how my demeanor has just changed. It really annoys me. Without sex, none of us would be here. So why would we buy it? But no, it's true. It's so
That's
true.
so real.
Literally, if you're sorry if
I
you
mean, but there's now like in vitro, science is
true.
evolving,
No, that's very true. But before
No,
you
I'm
even get to
joking, I'm
that
joking.
point, you need to have sex for at least a
Yeah.
year before they can even start doing that stuff. So without sex, none of us would be here. So why is it like, oh, you can't talk about sex? Why? Why can't we talk about it? If it literally wasn't for that, not this, not we would not be. I mean, yeah, sure, God can just go poof, and then a person can
The
appear.
Bible talks
Even
about sex
still,
as well.
exactly. So why can't we please? Someone make it make sense because it doesn't make sense to me. It's so confusing. And then, like every single person. We're all sexual beings. We are all sexual beings. We all have those hormones.
This is
We all
so
have.
weird.
But no, but sorry, I'm
In my
sorry.
head, I'm thinking, let's talk about sex, babe. Which is not great. But anyway, sorry, carry on,
Like,
carry
we
on.
all have those hormones, we all have those like feelings and intentions. So why can't we talk? Every single person struggles with stuff like that. So why are we not talking about it? Like, why is it like, oh, scandalous? Like, no, it's not scandalous. It's not scandalous.
I mean, it is a bit scandalous, let's be honest, but I
Why?
get you.
Why is it scandalous?
I
I mean,
mean,
I'm not
it is a very private matter.
right. I'm not saying that, like, for example, my parents need to tell me, oh, we had sex this day.
Yeah,
I don't need to know. I don't
yeah,
need to know that.
yeah.
But I think, like, even if we take like any type of religion out of it, if we don't have healthy conversations about sex, things like sexual abuse and rape will continue to happen because people don't know
Mm.
about boundaries, people don't know about consent, people don't know about safe ways to have sex. So please explain to me why people are like, oh, we need to bring down, teenage pregnancies, we need to bring down, cases of sexual abuse. Why are we not about sex then? Why are we not educating young people about sex? It makes no sense to me because the issues that rely with sex happen with young people. So why don't we talk about it? It just makes me so angry because it's like, and this is why I say I also take religion out of it, because it's not just like a Christian thing or a religion thing. People who don't believe in anything find that to be a topic to talk about. And, like, I don't understand why. I don't get it. Makes no sense to me because, like, it's such an important topic because at some point every single person is gonna do it. So like why
I'm,
not?
I'm, I'm guessing you don't just want to talk about. You don't want to get two people up and be like, "How was your sex last night?"
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
exactly. I'm
I'm
not
guessing that's not what you're
hey,
talking
I'm not just like,
about.
hey, cousin,
How long
how
is
was
it for?
it? How long was it for? How often do you do it? Like,
What
no, I
is
don't get. Like, I don't. I'm not gonna
happening?
lie. I would rather not know. Do you know what I mean? I hope for every single person who is having sex, you have a great, healthy sex life. I just don't want to know the details. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't really care.
So
But
so what about sex then? Do you think needs should be talked about? Or like,
I think sex should be an open conversation, like point blank period. I think, like, even just saying the word sex should not be like, they said the word sex.
yeah,
Oh my god! Like, no. I also feel like people need to learn about consent
cool,
fully.
cool.
People need to learn about that.
Even in the church.
Yep,
Wow. Okay.
because marital rape is huge.
Right.
Um, People need to learn about boundaries. People need to learn about safe ways to have sex. And I'm talking, and I know this is where some people might get angry with me, but I am also talking about contraception because, like,
Sorry.
I'm talking about contraception as well because
Okay.
I'm a full believer. Like, when I have children, I would rather my kids have safe sex before they're married than not have safe sex and get pregnant or get sexually abused or anything like that. Because I'm like, as a parent, your job is to teach your kids about the world, right? And help them navigate through it. So even though I'm not gonna, and I'm not fully saying that I'm not sitting here being like, when I have children, I'm gonna be like, hey guys, go have sex. Absolutely not. I'm gonna be like, listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you the safe way to do it. But if I catch you doing it, there are going to be some consequences. You don't want to know what the consequences are, because like absolutely not. Like no. That is the thing that I fully believe. Sex is for the constraints of marriage. No exceptions.
This goes back to the idea of like creating a safe space, isn't it? For them. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, if you can talk about things like sex, then you're creating that safe space. Because also as well, like if my child ended up having sex for whatever reason, I want them to tell me. I don't want them to be like, oh, I can't tell my mom. Because like the thing is, like, what if they get somebody pregnant or get pregnant themselves?
I think in the context of everything that you're talking about here is the fact that they are gonna find out about it.
Oh yeah,
sooner rather than later.
I mean, I found out when I was 10.
Exactly.
My parents didn't tell me.
Exactly, they're
gonna find out about it one day or another.
Yeah. So it's not a thing of like you're just gonna bring them out one night. Well, maybe you could do, but it's not a thing of you talking about you telling them something that is gonna mess their minds up, or like they're not gonna talk about with other people, or like isn't gonna be brought up in their own world. Because even nowadays in school, like this is something that gets taught in school. So like, why can't we talk about it to them in our homes as well? Yeah, and actually maybe get a bit of a control over it yourself. Because also there's this thing of like avoid. Sometimes even like squash down. But what ends up happening is your eyes light up even more. Like you start to get the feeling of
as soon as you tell a child they can't learn about something or they can't do something, what does the child want to do? They want to go learn about it. They want to go like exactly. So like if like I'm not my aim as a parent is to make sex so boring my kids don't want to do it until they get married.
I like that. I like that tactic.
Like, because if you talk about like you talk about the level, I can't imagine any child being like, oh, I want to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, it's raining today.
Yeah.
Like, if you talk about sex, like, just so like blasé, and like you're not like making it into like, because as soon as you say something's taboo, you're already picking up their interest because it's like, oh, why is it taboo?
You're making it shiny.
Exactly, and it's like, sure, yeah, it's sure it can be like a shiny thing, but at the same time, like it's not. Like if you think about, sorry, this is gonna get. I'm really sorry to get like this, but if you don't think about the act of sex, it ain't pretty. Do you know what I mean? No. Like it's like just bodies, feet. Like no, like I don't know. Like even I don't want to think about it. I don't like you to talk about it. But do you know what I mean? So as soon as you like just make it boring,
it's kind of not all it's made out to be.
Exactly, and I think with purity culture as well, when it comes back to Christianity, that is so toxic because you're like right. So okay, we're good examples of this. You are a man, I am a woman. We are told as Christians, or even just in purity culture in general, that sex is for men, not for women. Why? You know what I mean? Anytime a girl's like, "Oh, I'm having these thoughts," like, how dare you have those thoughts? That's not meant to be like
princess.
Like, you're not meant to be like, why?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, and I think just trying to debunk that and to like get rid of it, and like I think it's not even just talking about like actual sex. I think just talking about puberty in general, like like I have like a way in my head of how I'm going to talk to my kids about it. Like I started going through puberty when I was like 9. I had no idea what was going on because at that point in school we hadn't had the talk, so I was very confused. Like, I have no idea what's going on in my body. I don't get what's happening. Help. So I think having, especially if you have this conversation for me, I'm not saying that you tell your 2-year-old what sex is. I'm not saying that. Although I am a believer that if a child asks a question, you need to answer the question truthfully.
Yeah, but you can also tell it in like different ways.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I think a lot of parents get scared is like if I mention sex to them, it's going to make them want to have sex. But I think that's where you come in with the fact of like you just make it sound so boring.
But the thing is, for me, I feel like it's rest assured they are gonna want to have sex. Like, but the thing is, you tell them or not, to be honest.
I think, and that's true, but that's why I would rather it come from me, and I'd rather give them all the tools that they need to have it safe.
Definitely, I agree.
So that then, if they decide to in the future, whether or not I've told them,
obviously, you're hoping that they don't. But
exactly. But if they do, I know that it is safe and consensual, and I've got nothing to worry about.
100%. 100%. But we should stress that you're hoping that they don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Fully,
yeah,
fully.
yeah,
He's like, listen, I ain't doing any of this like becoming a grandma at a young age. I ain't
yeah.
time for that at all. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's cool. But okay, so like, let's. I would like to just. Can you just make a just maybe list like maybe other taboo topics? Because I know like in terms of sex, for me, what would come under sex is like actually I probably wouldn't say like consent and stuff like that, but that's definitely a good thing to talk about. Um, Rape and sex before marriage, porn, I guess would probably come into that. Yeah, that's kind of like the stuff about sex, right? Like,
Yeah, I think like I'm a geek, right? I am a science gal through and through. So I think for me, when it comes to the whole topic of sex, is also talking about like, so like the reason why we believe sex is for the contract of marriage because that's what Adam and Eve did. They were married. That's what God made sex for. But I think when you're trying to explain that to other people, and people say, "Well, it's just a physical act. It doesn't mean anything," and I'm like, "Let me teach you about biology.
mm, mm,
What happens when you have sex with somebody is that your body releases a hormone called oxytocin. What oxytocin is a binding hormone. It literally
mm,
binds you to that person. So
mm,
let's take religion out of it. God, in this, I'm not saying this is true. In this incident, God does not exist. There is no God. There is nothing after this life. We just die. Oxytocin still exists. Oxytocin is still going to bind you to that person.
that's
Like even if
hilarious.
there's no, like literally like no. Anytime someone ever comes to me that's just it's just a physical act, it makes me so angry. I'm like, you don't know science, and I'm going to teach you science now because it literally binds you to that person. And like I think one thing that's really sad is sure if you're someone who has sex with different people multiple times, that effect that oxytocin has in you is going to get less and less because you are desensitizing yourself to that. So then what happens when you meet the person you love forever and you have sex with them? You desensitize yourself to that binding hormone.
Mm,
And isn't that how if you deep it, how upsetting is that? That because for whatever reason, and obviously people have their reasons for why they do that, and I'm not here to shame anybody. It is your life. You live the way that you think you need to live your life, and that is fine. But how sad is it to think that because you've, you know, done that, when you meet the person that you're going to spend, the rest of life with, or that you truly, truly love, you're not going to get that same feeling anymore, or you might get it back, but after a while because you've desensitized yourself to that.
mm,
And I think yes, if you just think about sex, there's those things, but then you've also got things like that where you can get you can get into it a bit more. But I'd also talk about things like mental health. I'd talk about things like I think like social media, because like
mm,
we're like one of the first generations who remembers life before social media.
mm,
The generations now all have social media. I talk about things like trust.
mm,
It's like especially with social media, um, how can you truly trust that your partner isn't talking to another person? Because it's so easy. Like I have two Instagram accounts. No one knows I've got two Instagram accounts. About the second Instagram account I don't use. I made it. I don't know why I made it. It's still there unused. And there's nothing on it. So maybe one day I'll be using it for something. I don't know. But like it's very easy to create this persona. We see it all the time. Like you've heard of TV shows like Catfish, where people literally will create personas of other people. Social media is very scary. It's a very deep thing that I think people need to have more open conversations about. Like yeah, I think like some topics people might not think are taboo, but actually are, or like the things within it that are taboo that people won't talk about, and like social media being one of them. Being like, yeah, social media is great, but then when you really delve into like the psyche behind social media and why people use it or how people use it, then you get to some really deep stuff that people probably aren't comfortable to talk about. So